Initially, Chiricahua Apache leaders Mangus Colorado and Cochise aimed their hate at the Mexicans. Years earlier, when Mexico offered $100 per Apache scalp, a previously trusted prospector blasted Mangus and his friends with a cannon at close range. The only survivor was Mangus Colorado, who spent the rest of his life getting even. Cochise had had a similar experience.
What is unique about Cochise is that he was one more of the very few Chiricahua Apaches that could bring all the bands together out of respect and for his leadership.
Contributing to Cochise's hostility toward Americans was the Bascom affair. When Cochise denied kidnapping a child in 1860, an Army troop led by Lieutenant George Bascom grabbed several Apaches as hostages pending the boy's release. Cochise grabbed several non-Indians as hostages in return. Eventually, his patience worn thin, Cochise killed his hostages. The Army responded by hanging theirs. In the next few months, many settlers were killed in Chiricahua raids. By 20 years later, when the boy showed up working as a scout, it had long since been proved that Cochise had had nothing to do with the kidnapping. The Civil War had its impact. The troops left. Then on February 28, 1862, the Confederates rode in and claimed Arizona as a territory.
John R. Baylor decreed as the commanding officer of the Confederate Army in Arizona that it was his policy to kill as many Apaches as you could, sparing only the children and women in order to sell them to defray the cost of killing the men.
The Confederate visit was short-lived. In May of 1862, the Union Army under Colonel James Carleton reoccupied Tucson and declared it a territory of the United States. A few months later, there occurred the famous Battle at Apache Pass. From 400 feet up the mountainsides, 700 Chiricahuas, led by Cochise and Mangus Colorado, pinned down 126 soldiers. At the battle's end, however, 2 soldiers, but nearly 60 Apaches were killed. The Army had employed weapons the Indians had never seen before, the howitzer cannon, and the infantry's new breech-loading, rapid-firing rifles. The Apaches would never again choose conventional battlefield tactics against the military. It would exclusively be guerrilla warfare. With the Confederates gone, now General Carleton turned his attention to his other passion, crushing the Indians.
His policies to round up the Navajos and subjugate them through any means and all means necessary.
Colonel Kit Carson has been criticized for conquering the Navajos by burning crops and killing livestock. But General Carleton's instructions had specifically read, quote, "Male Indians are to be slain wherever they can be found," end quote. Instructions Kit Carson chose to disobey. In the spring of 1864, 8,000 Navajos were marched 350 miles in what is now called the Long Walk to Bosque Redondo, New Mexico. Historian Don Didera.
And there the white leaders thought to convert the noble Navajo, the nomadic Navajo, to agriculture on land that wasn't any good, in a country that was full of fever.
In 4 years, some 4,000 Navajos died. In 1868, Bosque Redondo was closed.
It was simply becoming too expensive to feed the Indians, and budgetary reasons prevailed. They needed to get the Navajos back into a self-sufficiency.
To General Sherman, Navajo leader Barboncito spoke eloquently on behalf of his people.
And he said to him, "I hope to God you will not ask me to go to any country except my own. I would like to go back the same road we came. After we get back to our country, it will brighten up again, and the Navajo will be as happy as the land. Black clouds will rise, and there will be plenty of rain, and corn will grow in abundance, and everything look happy."
it must have been a sight to see, because they said that the line, as they were walking back to what is now Navajo land, was 10 miles long. And they walked something like 12, 15 miles per day. And these were people that didn't have any food. The only thing that they were able to eat and survive from was what they could find on trees, rabbits out in the desert, and anything that is edible, they were able to find that, and that's how they survived.